The night is perfectly still across Scotland's Firth of Clyde. 3 fishing trawlers work the dark waters of the Inchmarnock Sound, their lights piercing the November darkness. These veteran fishermen know these waters like the back of their hands. They've fished here countless times before, but tonight, something is different. Deep beneath the surface, in the cold waters of the trench below, events are already in motion that will turn this routine fishing trip into one of Scotland's most tragic maritime disasters. Before the sun rises, one of these boats will vanish without a trace. 4 men will lose their lives, and a Royal Navy submarine will surface with fishing gear wrapped around its tower, forcing the military to confront a catastrophic failure that should never have happened. This is the story of the Antares. To understand what happened that night, we need to start several days earlier at Loch Long, Scotland. The date is November 17th, 1990. HMS Trenchant, a nuclear-powered Trafalgar-class submarine, sits at dock, preparing for departure. She's an impressive vessel, 85 meters long, displacing over 5,000 tons, and crewed by 130 highly trained personnel. But today, she's taking on some very special passengers. 6 Royal Navy officers board the Trenchant, accompanied by their instructor, a seasoned commander with 18 years of submarine experience. These men aren't regular crew. They're candidates in something called the Perisher Course. Now, if you've never heard of the Perisher Course, let me tell you, it's legendary in naval circles. This 24-week program is designed to break you. It's considered one of the most demanding command courses in the entire world. The pass rate? Historically, about 25% of candidates fail. And when you fail the Perisher course, your submarine career is essentially over. The name itself, Perisher, comes from an old Royal Navy term, meaning someone who won't make it, someone who will perish under pressure. That should tell you everything you need to know. The commanding officer leading this course is 41 years old. He completed his own Perisher course exactly 10 years earlier in 1980. Now, he's the one deciding who has what it takes. As the Trenchant leaves port, she heads northeast toward a designated exercise zone between Scotland and the Faroe Islands. For the next 4 days, these trainees will be pushed to their absolute limits. Navigation drills, combat simulations, emergency procedures. Sleep becomes a luxury. Mistakes are not tolerated. By the 4th day, 6 candidates have already been reduced to 4. 2 men's submarine careers have ended before they even had a chance to begin. But the remaining 4 are about to face their most challenging test yet. While the Trenchant conducts her exercises far to the north, life continues as normal in the small fishing village of Carradale on Scotland's Kintyre Peninsula. It's 11 p.m. on November 18th when 4 men gather at the harbor. They're the crew of the Antares, a wooden fishing trawler that's been working these waters for 25 years. Built in 1965, she's 57 feet long and showing her age, but she's solid and reliable. The skipper is 36 years old, a seasoned fisherman who purchased the Antares 3 years earlier. Since then, he's been fishing almost continuously, building a reputation as a hard-working, capable captain. Tonight is just another trip. Nothing special, nothing unusual. They're expecting to be out for 5 days. The crew loads supplies onto the boat: food, fuel, fishing gear. Then, as the last lines are cast off, the Antares motors out into the darkness, heading northeast toward their destination, the deep trench of the Inchmarnock Sound, locally known as the Bute Sound. This trench is well known to Scottish fishermen. The water drops to over 150 meters deep in places, creating ideal conditions for prawns and other bottom-dwelling catches. The Antares has fished here many times. The crew knows every contour of the seabed. They're not alone out here. 2 other trawlers are also working the area, the Heroine from Troon and the Hercules from Ayr. Over the next few days, the 3 boats drift in and out of visual and radio contact, sometimes passing within a few hundred meters of each other. It's companionable work, lonely but not isolated. The weather cooperates perfectly, light winds, good visibility, temperatures hovering around 11 degrees Celsius. These are ideal fishing conditions. On November 21st, a Wednesday, the Antares briefly returns to the port of Largs to offload her catch. She's having a good trip. The crew is in good spirits. By 5:30 p.m., they're back at sea, arriving at the southern end of the Bute Sound as darkness falls. The crew shoots their fishing lines and begins towing northwest, dragging their nets along the trench. Ahead of them, in the darkness, they can see the lights of the Heroine also heading northwest. The skipper picks up his VHF radio and calls the Heroine's captain. He mentions that he's going below deck to rest for a bit. One of the other crew members will take the wheel. The 2 captains chat briefly, the easy conversation of men who know their trade. Then they sign off, over and out. Those would be the last words anyone would hear from the Antares. By this time, HMS Trenchant has completed her North Sea exercises and returned south to the Clyde training area. The submarine is now accompanied by a surface vessel, HMS Charybdis, which will act as an opposing force for the night's exercises. The 4 remaining perisher candidates are exhausted but focused. They know they're being watched. Every decision, every command, every reaction is being evaluated. The ship's log records everything in precise detail. At 11:30 p.m., the Trenchant is tasked with a dummy mine-laying exercise in the Hunter Channel, a narrow body of water that demands exceptional navigation skills. The Charybdis plays the role of enemy, trying to detect the submarine as she makes evasive maneuvers. It's technically demanding work in confined waters. One mistake could end a candidate's career, or worse. The exercise is completed successfully, and both vessels exit the channel to practice attack scenarios in more open water. At 1:31 a.m. on November 22nd, the Trenchant rises to periscope depth so the duty captain can locate the Charybdis for a mock torpedo run. The trainee captain carefully scans the entire horizon through the periscope. He reports seeing only the naval vessel. No other ships. The exercise continues for another 30 minutes, until at 2 a.m. it's deemed complete. The course leader and the Trenchant's actual captain retire to the wardroom to discuss the candidate's performance. Command is handed over to one of the trainees. The submarine resubmerges to 60 meters and sets a northwesterly course toward the end of the Isle of Arran at a steady 6 knots. Everything seems routine. Meanwhile, on the surface, the Heroine continues towing northwest. Her watchkeeper glances back and notices the Antares, which had been heading southeast, making a turn to starboard. The smaller trawler swings back to a northwesterly course, settling in to continue fishing. The watchkeeper holds his gaze for a moment. Everything looks normal. He turns away, unaware that he's just witnessed the Antares' last maneuver. At 2:10 a.m., the crews of the Heroine and Hercules communicate via VHF radio. Someone notices that the Antares is no longer visible on radar. But this isn't unusual. Boats often move to different fishing grounds. No alarm is raised. Both vessels continue working. Below the surface, the Trenchant's duty captain, one of the trainees, makes a course alteration to 315 degrees true north. Instantly, multiple contacts appear on the sonar display. They're designated as M1, Contact 3, Contact 5, and Contact 45. M1 is identified as the Charybdis, now departing the area. Contact 5 is classified as a fishing vessel, but something about it is concerning. The signal is growing louder rapidly, and the contact's bearing is shifting. The passive sonar doesn't provide exact range, but at 35 decibels, it's suddenly alarmingly close. The trainee captain orders a sharp turn to port, hoping to increase separation. But as the submarine's bow swings through the water, the sonar operator's voice cuts through the control room with urgency. Contact 5 closing rapidly, well within the exclusion zone. The duty captain eases the rudder, trying to slow their rate of approach, but it's already too late. The separation distance is collapsing faster than the submarine can maneuver away. Then, at 2:19 a.m., it happens. The submarine shudders violently. A series of loud bangs echo through the control room, the unmistakable sound of metal striking metal. The sonar controller immediately reports a trawl snag. The submarine's engines are stopped as steel wires scrape along the Trenchant's hull with a terrible screeching sound. Through their headsets, the sonar operators hear strange, disturbing noises. Among them, the sound of a propeller spinning up, the distinctive whine of an engine under extreme stress. The course leader sprints back to the control room and immediately takes command. For the 4 men aboard the Antares, the next moments are filled with absolute terror. 1 second, everything is normal. The steady rhythm of the trawl, the rumble of the engine, the familiar sounds of a fishing boat at work. Then, without any warning, their trawl wires are wrenched violently taut. The force is unimaginable. The Antares lists sharply to starboard, throwing the crew off balance. The trawler is being pulled backwards, through the water by something massive beneath the surface. The violent force causes the boat to roll onto its side. Water immediately begins flooding into the open wheelhouse. Within seconds, the Antares is going down. The skipper and 1 crew member fight desperately to escape. There's no time to send a mayday, no time for anything. In a last-ditch effort, someone manages to power up the engines, hoping to break free of whatever has snagged their gear. They try to pry open the wheelhouse windows as water rushes in from all sides, but it's too late. The Antares disappears below the surface of the Firth of Clyde, taking all 4 crew members with her. The entire event, from snag to sinking, takes less than a minute. On the Trenchant, the atmosphere is tense but controlled. The submarine has stopped moving. The crew can still hear strange noises through the hull. The course leader orders the submarine to rise to periscope depth. The captain scans the waters carefully. He sees 2 trawlers fishing normally in the distance. Everything appears calm. There are no distress signals, no flares, no signs of trouble. He radios the Charybdis. The surface vessel's captain confirms that no alarms have been raised. Still concerned about the trawl snag, the captain makes the decision to surface for a full inspection. The crew quickly finds what they're looking for: lengths of steel wire and chain tangled around the submarine's sail and periscope mast. It's clear they've hit fishing gear, But without any signs of distress on the surface, the full scope of what's happened doesn't register. The Trenchant's captain takes time to think. All indications show that no vessels in the area are in trouble. The 2 trawlers he observed are still fishing normally. No distress calls have been received. At 3:15 a.m., he radios a report to the operations room at Faslane Naval Base. The radio operators there confirm they haven't heard any distress calls either. The decision is made to continue with the exercise, but if you look east toward the Isle of Arran and walk along the seawall, you'll find a plaque mounted to the stone. It's a final tribute to the Antares and her 4 crew members, men who left port on a routine fishing trip and never came home. The disaster of the Antares wasn't caused by mechanical failure or extreme weather. It was caused by human error, by a breakdown in procedures, by the pressure of training overriding the fundamentals of safety. It's a reminder that even the most advanced technology operated by the most elite personnel can fail when basic protocols are not followed. And it's a reminder that beneath the surface of our familiar waters, danger can lurk unseen. If you found this story interesting, please consider liking and subscribing. There are more maritime disaster stories coming soon. Thanks for watching.